Okay, hello, everyone. My name is Diamond Rivera of the Live Discussions with Diamond podcast. And just to let you know, this episode is sponsored by Tu Bachata Radio, where you can listen to this interview here live and high quality. And tonight, I truly am thankful. This for me, I feel is an honor. For me, I believe is one of the most amazing female instructors coming all the way from Florida. The one and only Julie. Hello, Julie. How
Hello.
Yes, honestly, for me and you have been in talks for many months about doing this interview. And for me, like I've told you, a person that kind of referred me to you was Stephany Moore, who also is from Florida. Big shout out to Stewart, Florida. But she told me so much about you, and it
Stephanie.
made yes, it made me really like look into your classes and seeing just the fluidity, the fierceness, the soulfulness. Oh man, it's truly inspiring. And honestly, I thank you so much for appearing on the podcast tonight.
Thank you for having me. Hello, the world.
As well. And honestly, I think tonight is really special because I think, especially during these times, these crazy, hectic times, seeing artists like yourself who've been able to kind of really adapt to the situation. And I praised you over and over, privately and publicly, about you still having your classes, but keeping it as safe as possible. And I think for me, that's really important, realizing everything we've been going through these past few months, but also realizing that we have instructors like yourself that can still give quality content to their students, allowing them to have fun, but still be safe.
Well, we have to adapt. That is for sure. Um, in the early months, I tried doing classes online, and that
Mhm.
just was not for me. I did like three classes, and I had like technology issues, and I have a studio in my house. So I
Mm,
have the lighting, the equipment, the sound, I have everything you can think about, but it lacked the personal touch
yeah,
and the connection with the students. That's the reason why I teach my class. Um, so that's why I was just like, you guys just go ahead and take a break for a couple of months and I'll figure out a plan B. And then I started doing like classes with like four people
mhm,
every 2 weeks. So like every 2 weeks I would rotate. You'd have to put your name on the list and I would rent out a big studio and everybody had to stay really far apart, like pick a corner, stay over there and wear your mask.
yeah,
Um and it's hard. Like I don't do this for a living. I teach because it really fills my heart with joy. But I don't know how some of the people that really do this for a living are dealing with it right now because it's it's just unimaginable that you go from, your career and overnight it just everything stops.
yeah.
And I know a lot of dancers that do this for a living that may not necessarily have a plan B or savings, and it's like, okay, now what do you do?
Mhm.
Um, so I'm just grateful that, I can still teach one or two classes a month and still enjoy myself and be safe. Everybody that comes to class has to wear a mask. If they go social dancing, they can't come to my class. Like I've already
There
given
you
out
go.
the disclaimer because I got to think about my family as well.
Yeah.
I have two kids and a boyfriend here, and my mom is down the street. So it's like I can't be that selfish to enjoy myself without being safe, and then God forbid one day I get sick and then bring it home to my family. Like that. That to me is not a good plan.
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely. But and for me, I really am impressed, like you said, from four students, and then kind of moving forward, seeing the growth, seeing that people are still coming, but loving that you still keep it honest and transparent, realizing that, hey, I still want to give everyone amazing content, but at the same accord, keeping everyone safe. And for many, I guess, instructors, like you said, there are people that this is their livelihood. There are people out here that,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I do. I don't really have anything else to do. But like yourself, you said this is something you love doing, but you do have work outside of here. And realizing that, like you said, there are
Mm-hmm.
many instructors just finding their way, learning to adapt, and understanding how important it is to give their students a great time. And also, during this interview, just want to let you know that we'll be having live time comments coming in. For example, the one and only Stephany Moore is here.
Hey, boo. Oh, hey.
And we'll definitely get into that.
Sorry, I get excited.
No, it's all good. And we're definitely going to talk about the origin because for many who don't know that you are originally from New York. So kind of that transplant from New York coming all the way to Florida. So we'll definitely get into that. And again, I guess really I love asking my guests right in the beginning of really how they've been able to just adapt of especially the artists because we've seen many companies, many schools, many teachers haven't been able to adapt to the social media alternative. Like you said, there are artists that or teachers that once they do online and it's just not the same, it's hard for them to adapt and keep going and stay relevant and consistent. I think
Yeah,
that's been a really big issue. Many performers that I've seen over the years just haven't capitalized on it.
yeah.
But for me, I would say for yourself, you've definitely been the exception. And
I
seeing if
mean, I don't think that I stay on it like I would like to.
mhm,
For a while, I was really sad and depressed early on because I was like, there's more to life than dancing. Like, I gotta take
mhm,
care of my family, I gotta watch my kids grow up. My daughter's about to graduate. Like, I was on a mission. There will be no COVID in my house. So if we have to stop, going out, my kids were doing school virtually. I was like, okay, I'll just dance in my kitchen if I have to. But like, I was just in shock because I saw so many people that just said, okay, let's roll with the punches. Let's move everything virtual. And I was like, wow, kudos to them because I couldn't do it. I was just like, there's too much sadness around right now. Griselle used to call me and be like, get in my class because I didn't want to. I felt like dancing was selfish
mm,
when there's so much trauma going on. And that
yeah,
I was like, how could I, be happy during this time? Dancing makes me happy. That's why I do it. When there are so many people that are suffering that don't have work and
yeah,
I spent about 3 or 4 months like really down about dancing. Like, no, there's more to life. Go spend time with your family because you don't know if they're gonna be around. And I had not well close friends, not really family members that passed away like early on, like March,
yeah,
April. People were just like knocking down, and I was like, people were missing it. Are you gonna teach? Teach. People are
yeah,
dying. Like that's what I was saying. But on the flip side, I guess it also helps if
yeah.
you can keep going and do things virtually. So I think it's great that a lot of people have done that. I really couldn't. Like it took me so much energy to get up and start teaching again. And then I was like, this is what I need to keep myself sane is to be able to continue to teach. So I started teaching again, just smaller sessions. I did a 2 week quarantine. I would do a 2 week class and be like, all right, y'all got your class. I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Please let me know if anybody has symptoms so we can figure this out. And that's how I was doing it.
Man, and again, I appreciate it because the honesty in saying, hey, I still want to give a class to my students. I still want them to be happy because also with dance, many people that I've talked to, again, this is a therapy for many people. This is something
Mhm.
that gives them hope, gives them just a positive outlook, especially what we've been going through. So seeing people like yourself that even providing classes still have that internal kind of feeling of why should I be dancing during these times? But then also on the flip side, seeing how beneficial it can be to the people because you really impact them in a positive way. And for me, glad that we've been talking about this, but I love really getting to understand the artist of how it all started. Um, and for me, us talking as
Well,
well, we're definitely going to get into that. So, I mean, I would love to kind of know how really it all started for Julie.
well, I used to dance jazz in school, and I've always loved dancing, but I really started dancing salsa at home with my parents. Like, I was like 7, 8 years old, and whenever we would do a house party, I was my dad's dance partner. Like everybody knew that when me and my dad got up to dance, everybody needs to get out of the way because him and his little 8-year-old daughter are gonna tear it up. Um, and it's been a part of my life. That's
Hmm.
I get so amazed at hearing the stories of people like when they found out about salsa, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I remember like the growing up. I would go to Dominican Republic every summer, and in
Mm.
my family's home, it was always salsa, and all the neighbors were like, "Are y'all Puerto Rican? Y'all supposed to be listening to merengue and bachata."
Right.
But it was salsa. That
Yeah.
was our love. My parents actually used to dance in the 70s in the nightclubs. Um,
Oh,
they were dance partners, just street dancers,
yeah.
straight street dancers. And my dad used to teach me moves, and it just went from there. When I was 13, my mom asked me, you know how our parents like force things on us and we don't even know until it's happening. And I'm like, wait a second, I had plans.
Yep.
No, this is what you're doing. I just one day my mom's like, "Oh, my friend, her daughter's having a quince and they're Mexican and they don't know how to dance.
Oh man, I need you to help me. I need you
Go,
to help.
I need you to teach her a little bit of merengue." And I'm like, "Okay." I was 13, and I walk into this room with a bunch of teenage kids, and it just went from there. Like they loved it, thankfully. Nobody gave me a hard time.
Yeah.
And the girl's friend that was at the party was her birthday was coming, and then it just snowballed from there. Like every month
Mm.
I was teaching my peers because they were my age
Yeah.
how to dance. And for about a year, I did that until my mom was like, wait a second, people should pay for this.
Oh, so you were doing this for free. This started like you said
Yeah.
snowball. Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I was 14, she said, all right, I'm going to charge them $150 if they want my daughter to teach them, a little bit of whatever. And I had like an inherent um, understanding of how people needed to learn. There was no
Mm.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. There was use your right foot, use your left foot, open your right shoulder, put your right arm up, look into her eyes, hold her shoulder blade. Like those
Yeah.
were all things that I would teach these other kids that were just like me for many years. And it worked. It I spent about 12 years. That was my job. Was choreography for birthday parties, choreography for, private parties. And
Hmm.
I loved it because I learned about music. I learned what people like, what people don't like, by trial and error, of course. I learned about creativity, and I had thoughts in my head, and I'm like, all right, how do I get these people to like this thought that I had in my head. You know, I learned how to explain things and break things down because I was not a trained instructor. I was
Mm.
somebody, I would show up and people were staring at me like, all right, teach us.
Uh,
And I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. But after a while, I needed to tweak it because other people started doing the same thing, and then YouTube came along,
mm.
and I saw, you know, people like, oh, I'll just learn it on YouTube, and I'm like, but wait a second, this is something you're gonna take with you for the rest of your life, you
Mhm.
know. So I started selling, you know, my talent in a different way and forcing myself to really know and back up what I'm talking about. Um, and that's how it all started for me. I went. Oh, so I was on YouTube right when YouTube came up, and the first person who I actually looked up was
Mhm.
Georgette. I
Mm.
didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody at the time. I just remember seeing a video of her dancing bachata at a barber shop, and I was
Yes.
like, "You making money off of this? Like,
Yeah.
we do this every day." I was so shocked that people were like, so, because it's, to me, it's normal. You know, to me, that's like a Friday night, you know, with your cousins and everything. And I was so intrigued.
Mhm.
And that's when I started learning about the scene and the community of Latin dance. And I was like, oh, this really does exist. And there are people that are really serious um, with this community.
Yeah.
And that was the first person who I found, Georgette. And then I came across a video of Griselle and Mambo. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that looks like salsa to me. What's the big deal? It was on two.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let me find in Florida, I'm gonna find a on two dance studio so they can show me what is this on two. Nothing. No
Ooh,
one. Zilch.
zilch.
Zip.
Not
Nobody was teaching on two. Nobody could explain on two to me down here when I
wow.
was like trying to figure, you know, trying to learn it. I just want to learn it. Show me. And I ended up going to what is now Prestige, but it was Latin beat back then. And they
Mm.
taught like Cuban style dancing,
Yes.
casino and on one. And I remember I went there and the girl at the counter was like, what class you want? And I was like, I want on two. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah,
Right?
I want on two. And they were, no, we don't do that here. And I'm
We
like,
don't.
but why not? I saw it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's fun. And they were convinced me, just take a class and you'll see it'll be fun. It was so much fun. I never left.
Mm.
Um, and was one of the instructors at the time. And I kept saying to him, but what about this on too? Like, I got to level 10 in casino. I want some on too.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we don't do that over here. And we do it in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to Fort Lauderdale. I didn't understand
Yeah.
what the difference was, you know, like,
Mm.
what is it? And I wanted to know. And I couldn't fly to New York. So I started watching more and more videos. YouTube got really popular, watching
Yeah.
more and more videos, asking more questions. And Latin Beat did have an on two performance team, but it was in
Mm.
Fort Lauderdale, which is like an hour away from here. And I went because I wanted to see what it was all about. So I went and I was so like surprised at the performance, you know, like, wow, this is salsa, but it's like salsa on crack. Like they got costumes, they got fringe everywhere. And I was like, okay, I could get with this. I like this. And I stayed there for a really long time. I learned casino. I
Mm.
learned how to dance on one and on two, but it
Yeah.
was all numbers, always 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and nobody could explain to me what that meant.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, no, I need to understand what's
Yes.
happening. Like, what is the purpose? Why the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7? And I just started digging and digging and digging, and I correlated with music. Like, it has to do with the music. It just, there's no other way.
Yeah.
Without the music, it all looks the same. So that's when I started like doing more research and started taking classes with Griselle online. And I realized that it all goes back to the music.
Yeah.
And I started watching videos and looking up, you know, what is a conga and why does it make this sound and why does it make that sound? And I finally understand what the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 is all about now because it goes with the music.
Yes.
And that's how I teach my class. I don't, I use counts, obviously, because that's what
Yeah.
everybody is accustomed to. But my class is more musical than anything else. I want my students to understand what the instruments are. Why do you jerk to this instrument and you tap to that instrument? You
Hmm.
know, who does what? And I just think that's so important because if not, you're going to look like a robot when you're dancing on this 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 all the time. And without the music, you can't have salsa. So respect the music, respect the musicians, understand their purpose. Um, and whether my students like it or not, I did kind of force it on them. All right.
Honestly, I love it. And understanding, like you said, from the beginning, you being from New York, move over to Florida. Most people who know you would say, or most people who see you would say, oh, you must have learned from New York. You
Mm-hmm.
must have got all your training. But no, like most dancers too, we start from home. And then whether we stay in the same area or we travel, that intrigue of learning the dance, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, YouTube. We're talking
Yeah.
about '07, '08, '09, around that time, I believe, when YouTube was like starting, picking up. And what you said was important because before then, all we had was DVDs from congresses if you were lucky to
Yep.
go.
I have them.
So
I have
really,
them.
man, and see,
And I
that's a
have
rare.
I have Grisel's lady styling DVD.
Oh,
Like, yeah.
we taking it way back. And I definitely
Mm-hmm.
remember those times and
Mm-hmm.
talk about Griselle, and then you're talking about Latin beat, you're talking about Yumi, and I've heard that name before talking to other Florida artists and realizing, like you said, a key word was a pattern because you're realizing that there are certain artists still to this day that have been so influential in advancing and evolving that dance scene because like you said in Florida for many people that I didn't realize was me coming from New York I thought everyone did on two but no many people start out with casino because Florida's closest to Cuba makes perfect sense and also on one so for me on one was foreign I had to
Oh.
go down south and go west coast to
Mm-hmm.
even see on one. And then you're talking about when you're starting, you started with casino, then on one, then on two. And that right there shows the dedication because there's also two different types of dancers one that just want to perform, but those who want to learn. So I think that's a really a key difference in the mindset because like you said you were kind of yearning for more you wanted to learn on too because like you said it intrigued you it caught your eye so a question I definitely have is you're learning on two when did you realize or the question I really do have is like you talked about earlier about quinces did that transition also go into Florida because like you said you started quinces I believe was it in New York or was it in Florida that you had kind of started
It was
those.
in Florida. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was
Mm.
in Florida. I remember I was working on a song and a friend of mine was like, "You're doing it wrong." And I was like, "Doing what wrong?" She's like, "The girl goes back with the right foot." And I was
Oh,
like, "Who said?" Like, who said that the girl has to go back with the right foot? Who said that? Where's the book? Like, and I was going forward with my left. But I
mm,
think that I was doing it because I was leading. I don't remember because it's so long. This is like 20 something years ago. And
yeah.
she kept telling me the girl goes back with the right foot. Everybody knows that. And I was like, but that's not how I feel it. I don't feel it
Mm,
like that. So then fast forward years later,
yeah.
and when we're dancing on two, the girl does not go back on the right foot if you're dancing New York style. To begin. And I always wonder, I'm like, where did that come from? It had to come from the music. Like, that's the only thing that I could find the explanation for because nobody ever told me she goes with the right foot and that foot goes there and that foot goes
Yeah.
there. Like, this information came years after I was already dancing.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, no, I never danced in New York. Everybody, when they see me here, they're like, "You must be from New York." And I'm like, "I'm from New York, but I've danced in
Yeah.
Florida pretty much all my life." "No, no, no, no. You got to be from one of those studios up there in the Bronx." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Nope."
oh, of course. It's
Like,
always,
nope.
and
I
even
don't know.
Stephanie here says, Julie says she low key danced on two way before she even knew about on two.
I think so. Because I remember, like, why does the girl have to go back with the like? I didn't understand who made that rule,
Mm,
and she just kept telling me I was doing it wrong, and I was like, I don't
no.
think there's a wrong way. But now that I understand the
Yeah.
differences and the different styles, now I explain it, in my opinion, correctly so that way someone else can understand. Like the first thing that I do in my classes is tell everyone there are many ways of dancing salsa. It really depends where you come from. If you come from the Caribbean, Cuba especially, you're probably gonna break with your right foot going back because
Yeah.
that is the sound that you're accustomed to. From Puerto Ricans, they use the drum. They
Hmm.
don't really use that cowbell sound
The clave.
when
Yeah.
exactly. So if you go on a map, Puerto Ricans go to New York. Cubans go to the South. It's there, it's clear. And like that's why New Yorkers don't really dance on one because they don't have that influence. It's just,
Mm,
in my opinion, it has to do with the influences and where you are. That's the only thing that makes the most sense to me. And I did have a conversation with the man himself, Eddie Torres, many years ago, and he
mm,
explained to me the whole purpose of the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 and the
yeah.
breakdown. But that is in the sense of how to teach.
Yes.
But the influence itself still matters where you come from. I think that's just it's plain as day. Like that's what I think is so easy. And I try to tell people if you're in Miami and you have that influence of, the Cubans and the cowbell, you're probably gonna be dancing casino rueda or some form of on one.
Hmm.
But if you're in a different part of the country that's influenced by a different group, it's gonna be a little different. And what's most important to me, especially for women
Yeah.
followers, know the difference. Be able to dance with everyone,
Love it.
because I'm like, I don't know who decided to start asking this question. I'm like, who does that? Let's
Oh
just
my.
dance.
Oh wait, we go to a social like on one, on two.
A one or a two. And I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I'm
Dance
able
with
to
me.
follow it. Let's just dance. Find your timing, keep your timing, and we're good to go.
Oh my god. I'm honestly, I'm loving this conversation because you're hitting so many points of that has been a big issue, especially social dancing. the social setting of the question of, do you dance on one? Do you dance on two? But a lot of times, those people that ask that are not even on time when they're dancing. So it's,
I
and I
think they're
tell,
still trying to figure it out.
yeah. And I think a big thing is what people don't do is observe. Meaning is for me being a dancer for many years, I learned from other instructors and professionals. The trick was, or not a trick was, if you're at a social, watch the dancers while they're social dancing.
Mm-hmm.
From there, you can figure
Yep.
out the timing because even in New York, we had on one dancers. It was a rarity, but we had it. New York was saturated with on two dancers coming from the Eddie Torres era, and the generation evolved and
Mm-hmm.
evolved. But what I love too is that a lot of New Yorkers started to travel down south and also bring that influence up. Because, like you said, Miami had casino with the Cuban influence. And I think it's very cute what you said is when it terms of these styles, it's really just where things go. Like you said, the Puerto Ricans kind of go to New York and the influences in different areas. And seeing that, for yourself, you started with casino, then on one, and then on two. And now that brings a question. How did you, and I know we've talked about it, many people don't know, how did you actually get introduced to Stephany Moore?
Oh, um, back she was one of the people that her parents contacted me because I don't know, I guess they saw one of the gigs that I did, and
Mhm.
she was 14 and she wanted to have a party and she wanted a choreography. And this was the most serious quinceañera I had ever met. She was she kicked people out if they were late. Like
Oh,
always on time. Like this thing was a production. I was like, "Oh my Jesus." Like she was so serious about that event. It was her party. You're not going to mess it up. If you can't dance, I'll teach you, but you better be on time. And that's how I met her. Um, I worked with them for about 3 or 4 months. She had a great, great, great party. And then she called me. I can't really remember like how long after, but she
yeah,
wanted to keep dancing. And I knew Stephany was a ballerina because just the way she moved. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
but you already dance. And she's like, no, but I want to dance salsa. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, come on. I'm all for anybody that wants to learn. So I was like, come on down. And that was my transition out of prestige because
Mm.
around that same time, I was really working with Griselle a lot.
Yeah.
And things didn't really go as planned with prestige. And I just said, this is my perfect segue. I'm going to teach Stephany everything that I can so I can move on. And that's
Mm.
exactly what happened. I was like, there you go. I'm going this route. You go that way. And things just took off from there. So, yeah.
That's
Hmm.
special. I mean, she even says here, and Julie brought out her chancleta real quick, too. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah. And that's actually happened with a couple of people. Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh,
Yeah. Sticks, chanclas. Yeah. Yeah.
man. And
Yeah.
hearing that story of you kind of teaching, of course, this person kind of bringing them along and really training them, it's special because people have to understand a lot of the dances we love and we favor nowadays, understanding where it started from is so important because there's a really big difference between just being a performer that just dances choreography, but also a performer and a dancer that's focusing on being complete. Because I think that also rubbed off on her.
Yeah.
Because my experience watching her dance, there was something different. The soulfulness, the way she carried herself, the way she moved, it was like I saw the influence from you when watching you. And then, like you said, you also learning from Griselle. So I think everything kind of trickled down. And honestly, like I've told her, she is amazing from coming all the way, like she said, from Stewart, Florida, coming all the way to the big city, New York. uh, and really making a name for herself as a female
Hmm.
solo artist, and now also with Angel. And the work they're doing is amazing. So definitely big shout out to her, as she calls you the best mama bear. So now,
Yeah, I've always known though that Stephanie, everything she did, it was very dedicated. So I always tell my students, like, it don't matter how talented you are. If you're lazy, you're lazy, you
mm,
know. But Stephanie did not have, you don't know where Stewart is. Stewart is far. She used to get up early in the morning and drive like 2 hours to rehearsal and two
mm,
hours back. And I remember telling like, you're good. Like, whatever you teach her from here on out, she's not flaky. Florida has a lot of flaky dancers. Stephanie was
mm,
not one of them. When she said she was going to do something, she was going to do it 100%. And she was going to do her best. That
yeah,
was always something that I knew about her. And I'm really proud of where she came from, because I know, to what she's doing now.
yeah. She
So
says
it's really
the
exciting to
struggle
watch.
was real. Yeah, she says right here the struggle
Uh,
was real.
yeah.
Man, I
Hmm.
mean, so now, and you touched on something really important, and the way you said it, it hit me because you said Florida has flaky dancers. I've heard that term from many people before, not just about Florida, but in terms of the dance scene. When you have a like New York has great dancers, but there are people who are flaky. From your point of view, can you kind of give me an idea of what do you mean specifically by that?
Well, I mean, because I have seen a lot of people come and go,
Mm.
um, it's a trend down here. You get like this bug to want to perform, whether you are ready for it or not.
Oh,
And people just get this, I don't know what it is, this thing that they got to be on a stage. And a lot of times, if you're not ready, you're just not ready. You got to let the process work itself out. And then you never see them again. Or they
mm,
want to join the team. And if they're not front and center, you never see them again. So that's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
there are certain people that take it to a different level of seriousness.
got
And I don't see that as much here as I do in other parts of the world. Example, in Italy. Like,
oh,
I'm shocked at how dedicated those dancers are, because they don't have as much access, or maybe they didn't have as much access as we in the States do. You
mm,
know, in order for them to make progress, they needed the instructors, the New Yorkers, the Puerto Rican instructors, to literally move over there for
yeah,
them to start learning and training and getting it and getting it and getting it. So it's not as easy as just jumping on a plane and taking an hour and a half flight, to New York, or going over to Puerto Rico, where
yeah.
you're going to get the origin. So that's why I'm like, there's access. There's so much access. And in my opinion, it's difficult to find dedicated dancers that are willing to be patient enough
Mm.
to learn and develop and continue to learn the craft.
I I agree with you 110%. I've been in many cities performing, filming, you name it, and I definitely see that sentiment because we have the dancers that they perform today, they're gone tomorrow. But there are those that keep longevity, that keep consistency, like yourself, and seeing, like you said, your upbringing from just dancing at home, moving to Florida, doing these quinceañeras, taking it more serious, going to Prestige, kind of branching out from there, meeting Stephany, and like you said, then going your own way. And that kind of now brings me to the projects even before COVID. Was I've seen your work with, I believe your company was Flow Dance Company. I believe one of the routines I saw was an all-female routine at the Orlando Salsa Congress. And for me, I just want to tell you, I loved it. It was breathtaking for me because of the fluidity, and it didn't need to be complex. And I love is that I see with your routines, I feel like they tell a story.
Yeah, that's sometimes very difficult because it's all in my head. And when it's like a finished product, you're like, yes, but no, you're not interpreting it the way I had it in my head. I
Uh,
love that part of the craft, but it can be very difficult to share precisely
mm,
what you're envisioning in your head. And oh, let me tell you, one person who does that so amazingly is Melanie Castillo.
oh yeah.
And I worked with Melanie a couple years ago. I don't know why. I just said, okay, I want to do a competition. And I jumped in there at the last minute and I was like, whoa, this is serious. And Melanie can take a choreography from her head. She can put it on paper. She
Hmm.
can create the rotations. And this last competition that we did like 2 years ago, there was 9 of us
Mm.
from all over the states. And I don't know how she made that happen, but I'm like, wow, that is a talent that to me as a choreographer, 100% have to respect because it's easy to just do it yourself. But when
Yeah.
you're showing it to a group of people who may not have the same ear that you have, they may not understand the timing, how you want it. They know
Mm.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. But with choreography, it's not always 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7.
No.
So to be able no, and to be able to like present that, and that's the part that's really exciting for me when it's done right. Where
Yes.
and I'm talking hair, makeup, costumes that are flattering to all of us. Because we're all different. And
Yes.
sometimes I be like, who was that? Which itty bitty girl was the one who came up with that design?
Oh my God.
But
I
um, yeah.
no, I get it completely because I think that's been an issue in our dance community of the stereotypical costume of how the female should look. The
Mhm.
skimpier, the better. The more salacious and scandalous, the better. But in my opinion, I think that's wrong. I think a costume should fit a person to make them feel comfortable. Because when they're comfortable in what they're wearing,
Yeah.
it helps much easier on a stage. Because I've seen male or female, when they're on stage and they don't love the costume they're in, you can see it. You can see they're worrying about everything, whether the button might come
Hmm.
off, the skirt might fall, it's too tight. So I think too, I think I'm loving what you're saying because these are the same opinions and talks that I've had with people at congresses when, we've seen performances. It's like I love the performance, but I didn't love the costume. I felt like the people who were wearing the costume, they didn't love the costume. And it was kind of the
Hmm.
director said, wear it. It will look good to me. But I think definitely a lot of dancers should really talk with their directors and have that dialogue because just as well as the teacher is giving you the knowledge and the wisdom and is giving you the tips and tools to become a good performer, I think also they need to listen to their students and understanding what makes them feel comfortable. And it sounds so simple, but unfortunately, those conversations don't really happen.
Mm-mm. I was one of them. I was not a director at the time, and I was like, I'm the thickest girl in the group. Why? Like, I'm always the thickest girl in the group. Why do you have to
Yeah,
force this on me? And it's like you're not thinking about your performance anymore. You
yeah,
know, all of your anxieties and all of your self doubt and all of the negative things are at the forefront of
yeah.
your brain when it's an experience that you should be enjoying.
Yes. Yes, I
So,
totally
but
agree.
hey,
Yeah, and then here we also have the one and only Ziana Otero, Ishmael Otero's daughter, saying, "Look at this queen." Yes,
oh, I love
and now
Ziana.
that helps me, yeah, now that it helps me transition to a segment that I have called the randoms, which is a 10 question segment that allows myself and the audience to get to know you a little better. Some questions are dance related, and some are just, regular. So just let me know when you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready. I mean,
Okay. All right. First question
I don't
is,
know what you're gonna ask me, but okay.
I know that's the perfect thing. Don't worry about it. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It might get a little spicy, but it'll be fun. Your favorite food?
My favorite food. I love pasta.
Okay.
Um, but I shouldn't be eating it so much, but I love pasta.
It's all good with me. Next question is your favorite dance event. Like if you could close your eyes right now and be at one event, what would that be?
2012 Puerto Rico Salsa Congress.
Ooh, I love the date, like the exact year.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That
I,
that year I was able to dance with one of my favorite instructors, Stacy Lopez. Oh my God, I love that man.
mm,
And it's just Puerto Rico is just so different. I'm Dominican, but
yeah.
when you go there, it's like home, you know. It's awesome. I love it.
Awesome. All right. Next question is what would be your dream vacation destination?
Um, I want to go to Maldives.
Ooh, I've heard that before. I heard it's beautiful. I mean, I just see photos, but
Yeah.
okay. All right. Next question would be what is your least favorite thing to do at a congress?
Probably sitting through like 50, 60 shows.
Oh my God, I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
There's no need for all those shows.
You heard it here. Whether you're in New York or Florida, a lot of us do not like 50. And don't get me wrong, I've been to a Congress when I said 50 to 55 shows a night. And as we know,
Yeah.
most of us dancers, unfortunately, don't stay for the shows. They're usually upstairs in the hotel room, pre gaming until like the last 5 or 10 shows.
Hmm.
I thank you. Thank you for that because a lot of people
And
agree
I
with.
really love watching the shows.
Yes.
I love watching the shows, but after a while, you're like, that was the same show I just saw in a different color costume. Like, what's going on?
Is this the movie Bring It On? Like you're doing the same exact routine? Wait, I would even say to kind of interject. I don't know if you remember years ago. This is when and you said the 2012. Remember when El Cantante came out? For me, I don't know if you know, but that song Aguanile was like in every Congress. I don't know if you noticed that. And we're not talking about a cut version. We're talking about the full song, like a production.
Yeah.
Man. All right. Next question would be what would you
Mm.
consider your spirit animal?
My spirit animal, a lion.
Okay. I
Hmm.
like that. All right.
Yeah.
Next question, and this definitely gets people is what is a big turnoff for you in terms of a social dance? Something that you advise people or leads not to do when they're dancing with you.
When they're not looking, They're looking
Gotcha.
everywhere but at you, and they're dancing with you. It's like, what's the point?
Absolutely. And I think that also goes for follows and leads because, again, nothing's worse than someone asking you to dance and literally not even looking at you.
And
And I'm loving here in the comments as well, Stephanie saying, oh, she's going to go in. Next question is, what would be your superpower?
okay, I'm gonna say it. If I had a superpower, I would like make everybody in my house just do what I tell them to do.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Only if, right? Only if. All
If you
right.
would just listen the first time, you know.
Okay. We don't want Julie the drill instructor to come out. So I'm advising everyone who is listening, especially the people in the house, just listen the first time. And next question would be, who are three people that have been most influential to you at this point in your life? And this is dance related or life in general.
Um, three. Mm. Definitely my parents, but let's combine them.
Yeah, no,
Let's just do
absolutely. You can do
one.
combining. We can do like the whole family as one.
Okay, well, my family, absolutely my family, my kids included, because if I didn't have my kids when I had them, I don't know where I would be. Like, I'd probably be in a lot of trouble or something. Um, yeah. And my students in class,
Mm,
like a lot of them don't realize how their feedback and their happiness really does take me through the week. Like, it's something that I
mm,
have to look forward to. And then when it's over, it helps me bring in like positive energy through the week. So that really helps me a lot. And God,
mm.
because I there's so much happening that I just have to like have a conversation with God so that way I could keep keep going, keep going, keep going.
Mm. That's definitely important.
Yeah.
All right. And so you have your family, your students, and God. I'm loving that. So next question, the second before last, is what is a special talent that many people wouldn't know you have?
Um, I'm very well organized.
You
I
kind of
can
said
do a lot of things in one day.
okay.
I can do a lot. Like, sometimes I'm shocked at how many things I can knock out in a
Mm,
day and still keep and I'm still going. It's 10 o'clock at night and I'm still going. I'm still going. And I think that works for me.
okay. I like it. I like it. And the last one is, and I love asking this question, we get so many answers. If you were on an island, what are three things that you would have with you? But disclaimer, there is no Wi-Fi.
Oh, hold on, you gotta wait a second. Um, then I'm gonna have a radio,
Okay.
like an old school boombox. Then
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna have. We could eat fruit on the island, so okay, never mind. Eating too much food. Um, I'm going to have. Should I have my kids with me? I don't know. Wait, I don't know. Um, I don't need a lot. As long as I have my music, I'm good. I actually just took a trip last year and no Wi-Fi, and it was like awesome.
Oh man.
Probably just like a family member, somebody to talk to,
Yeah.
and a good book to read and just like relax.
All right. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
Definitely thank you again for doing this segment. It definitely helped me to get to learn a little bit more about you, as well as Stephanie's comments in here. How she said of that previous question, she kept it short and sweet on that question we had earlier. As well, we have Naomi Wilson saying, "Hi, Julie. This woman is a triple threat."
Hi.
Yes. And now that
Oh, how are you?
I know, and that helps me now transition into the closing, really, of our talk. But now also the present day, realizing with COVID, it kind of took our dance community for a whole spin, like mainly 180.
Mhm.
We were having tons of events and congresses and festivals almost every weekend, every month, and that stopped for many of us.
Mhm.
Maybe not for all, but for many of us. And realizing, like I've told you, I admired I admired your approach and the honesty of you saying, "Hey, in the beginning it was tough, trying to do online, trying to adapt to it, and realizing, that you missed your students, you wanted to keep teaching in some way, but also seeing that you still wanted to keep a safe approach because, like you said, you have a family at home first. The family comes first before anything. So, a question I do have, and we've also talked about it, is really what really is your thought process on the past few months, if you would want to answer, about how the dance community's been responding to this pandemic?
I'm okay. So in Florida, I'm not in shock
Mhm.
because I don't know what it is about Florida, but we don't make great decisions down here. Um, at first, people were, canceling their classes and doing things online, and then like I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, I saw people having socials, and it's very upsetting because there's a bigger picture than having a few dances. And I'm someone who absolutely loves to dance, but I resist that urge to go out and potentially get sick and then come. It's selfishness. That's
Mhm.
really pretty much what it is. Whether you're the promoter or you're the studio owner or you're the one that wants to go have a dance here and there, it's there's always going to be a time for that. I know that we can come back to that, to the way things were, but it takes time.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because we can't control what other people do. We can only control what we do. So if like here, people are actually having socials again. And I'm like, all right, so I want to have my classes, but I want to be safe, but I'm competing against somebody saying, oh, well, it's no big deal. There's a point, whatever death rate or something, or survival chance. And I'm
Yeah.
like, but you don't understand because everyone's situation is completely different. You don't know how someone getting sick is going to affect the next person. And then maybe that person is playing it safe, but they ran into, another person that just doesn't really care. And now they're in my class. Like, it's
Mm.
just, it puts us that are trying to be safe in a very difficult situation. But I'm okay with that. Like, I
Yeah.
have accepted the fact that people are going to do what they want. So I need to do what I can to
Yeah.
keep everyone that's going to continue to come to class safe. Like, that's really what it is. I mean, I heard that there are socials going on in LA, and
Yeah.
I, I'm just shocked.
No,
Yeah.
and for me, just hearing your story, but hearing your outlook and your opinion, I respect you so much more because besides having a family, you're also thinking about the people that come into your class. because it's not just the person who has it can affect you, they can affect everyone else. For me, many people
Yeah.
know I love our community, but I also will speak up and speak out against what I feel is wrong because I've known dancers, and probably you've known dancers that are no longer here because of this. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, being able to see an artist like yourself that still can have that passion even when she teaches, and like you said before, at one point having 4 students, and that slowly has been growing. And honestly, for me, I've been following your classes. I'm almost watching every class you're doing, and I'm loving you still have that same approach, the same love and the same passion, because there are people there that really enjoy your teaching. And for
Yeah.
me,
And
that
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I teach because it's like playing tennis. I put out
mm,
energy and they give it right back to me. And I talk to them, almost like a mama bear. And I tell them after class, like, all right, so what's happening this Saturday night? Nothing. Good. See you in next class. Like,
yep,
don't tell me that you're gonna go to this party or you want to know, like, really just try, go practice. Listen, if in 2021 y'all don't got better skill set, you shouldn't be worried about social dancing during COVID.
thank
That's
you.
just what I'm saying, because you could do something else, practice at home, go take classes online. Like, there's so much that you could try and do that's not putting yourself at such a high risk, and then, like, maybe getting other people sick. Like, I don't know. That's
I
just
feel
me.
you. And at least one of the last questions I have before we conclude is, from everything you've been able to obtain and observe through these months, what do you feel is the outlook or the future for the dance community? Will there be events as big as there used to be again? Do you feel, at least with this potential vaccine coming or many vaccines coming, do you feel like there is a greater future for our scene?
um yeah, I think we're gonna go right back to how we used to. However,
Mm,
people are gonna wash their hands, because
yes.
hand washing is in now, so it's gonna be a habit. Um, People probably gonna, be a little bit more mindful
Hmm.
about their hygiene. I think greater things are gonna come because now people are more aware of how
Mm,
serious, diseases, infectious diseases, bacteria are, and how we just were really accustomed to just being all in each other's personal space. With, just not even worried about, did this person wash their hands before we
mm,
over here locking fingers. So yeah, I think I am hopeful that things will be better,
mhm,
because we really took dancing for granted for such a long time. So I know that when we're cleared to go, I'm gonna go, because normally I'm like, I'll go to the next one. And
absolutely.
now I'm like, no, I'm definitely gonna try and get out there, and show my face and just dance with as many people as I can when things get back to the way they used to be. But
Okay.
I think we're gonna make it through this. I'm really um hopeful and pray
Hmm.
that we're gonna be better after all this is over.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate your honesty. And definitely, before we go, I would like to know, if you could give myself and the audience some last few words, but also some contact information on how they can reach you and maybe any upcoming classes that you might have.
So this Saturday is my last class for the year in
Mm,
2020. And usually I try to do like a little potluck, with the students every year during the holidays, and I couldn't do that this year for obvious reasons. So I decided to do a free class as my gift to, the students.
Mhm.
That's like my holiday gift to everyone. So it is limited, and I have about maybe 4 or 5 spots left. It's same time, 2 o'clock in Coral Springs this Saturday. And my handle on all my social media is DanceWithJuile. I'm on the Facebook and Instagram, and I think that's it because I don't use Twitter. I don't really use Twitter. And the other thing, the Snapchat,
Yeah.
I don't really mess with that.
Uh,
But yeah, I'm very responsive on Facebook and on Instagram. So if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to me. But I just want people to just be mindful, be mindful that there is somebody standing right next to you or sitting right next to you that is having a difficult time, and they're not sharing it, so I will
yeah.
tell everybody to just lead with kindness, and just always think about the approach. That's one thing that I've learned, is which is going to be the best approach when communicating with others, because we really don't know what people are going through right now. So, and
Absolutely. And
thank you.
no, absolutely. No, thank you. And again, it's artists like you that keep me going because I do have hope for our community. I do have hope for our scene. And I definitely can't wait till things get back to normal, that I can then go to
Mhm.
Florida and visit artists like yourself and, really appreciate the value of people like yourself and others, because even through adversity, you care about the people first. And I think tonight's talk really has been so beneficial to me, because it gives me so much hope on what I know can happen for our future, and learning about your journey, all the way from New York, but really Florida, and seeing how influential you've been to many artists, but also how influential artists have been to you. So for me, I think it's been an
Yeah,
awesome
definitely.
time. And like I tell many of my guests, this is our first interview, but hopefully it won't be our last. I'd love to have you next year in 2021, seeing what Julie's up to next with her classes and projects. But again, I'm blessed, honored, and thankful that I've had this time with you tonight, to talk and, just really see who Julie truly is. So again, Julie, I thank you so much for taking your time out. You're a family woman.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yes, and I definitely can't wait. So again, stay safe, and definitely till next time. I thank you. I thank the audience, and I definitely can't wait for our next talk.
Thank you. Take care. Keep your
Everyone, take
mask
care.
on.
Yes, keep your mask on. Have a great day, everyone, and stay safe.